Meet the semiconductor manufacturing equipment monopoly that Silicon Valley loves and Biden administration fears. Is this all gone too far? ASML may be the most important tech company that barely mentioned in tech news channels, yet it is one of the few companies Biden administration is scared of and at the same time uses it against China in its mission to stop China's dominance in semiconductor industry. By the start of 2019, the Dutch tech firm pioneered a revolutionary method to manufacture chips known as EUV, extreme ultraviolet lithography. Ever since, it's had a complete monopoly on the very machines needed to make the world's most sophisticated microprocessors like the M1 used in Apple's MacBook Pro laptops and iPad Pro tablets. Only with the aid of the company's groundbreaking EUV photolithography machines, Intel, Samsung and TSMC can etch the world's smallest transistor, so-called 5nm nodes, onto silicon wafers. That makes ASML's machines not just a hit with investors but a strategic necessity for the world's industrial superpowers. China, for example, desperately wants to buy the semiconductor manufacturing equipment to reduce its dependence on imported chipsets and narrow the technological arms race. Yet Washington continues to pressure the Dutch government to prevent ASML selling to China. The US argues the technology must not be allowed to end up in Beijing's hands because the Chinese could then use the machines to build dual-use circuitry to gain a military advantage as well as civilian purposes. I'm not sure if this argument is justified, as there is no military in the world uses latest chips in the latest weapons. Future versions of some of the weapons which are currently being developed might need latest 5nm chips. TSMC's planned Arizona fab could cover that need for the United States. The United States blocked exports of the ASML's EUV machines to China in 2019, fearing that the Chinese would copy the technology. It's creating big divisions within Europe and beyond. ASML feels like it's caught in a tug-of-war between Washington and Beijing. It appears as if ASML has a virtual monopoly on the technology until 2025, when presumably rivals will catch up. The US and EU politicians see this technology as a geopolitical asset and don't want to simply hand over to China. Here's the biggest problem for ASML here. What if Western politicians wouldn't stop there? What if they seek to expand export controls beyond state-of-the-art EUV lithography machines to include older equipment as well? Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation (SMIC) is allowed to purchase DUV, deep ultraviolet machines from ASML, at least for now, considering the fact that SMIC is ASML's third largest client after TSMC and Samsung. Losing Chinese companies would have a big impact on ASML's finances and also might even face Chinese government retaliation in the future. Dutch politicians oppose US efforts to block the sale of argon fluoride ARF immersion technology, which uses liquid solutions as a lens to focus electromagnetic light from the deep UV spectrum. While this is happening, China can purchase these machines from ASML's main competitor Nikon. Dutch politicians and ASML think these measures are extreme. In its final report in March 2021, the National Security Council on Artificial Intelligence, chaired by ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt, indeed advised the United States government to do just what the Dutch politicians feared. The national security advisors are preaching the US needs to keep China a good 2 chip generations behind. The National Security Council on Artificial Intelligence recommended working with the Dutch and Japanese directly to deny export license on both EUV and ARF immersion equipment to Beijing. This would slow China's efforts to domestically produce 5nm or 7nm chips at scale and constrain China's semiconductor production capability of chips at any node at or below 16nm, which is most useful for advanced AI applications, by limiting the capacity of Chinese firms to repair or replace existing equipment. Here's the problem with this approach again. China is expected to be able to produce 5nm chips by 2025. That would put them just 1 generation behind the current industry leaders. The National Security Council on Artificial Intelligence may slow the process but cannot prevent China catching up with current chip industry's leading companies. They might prevent the technology transfer through banning the equipment, but they cannot stop the talent transfer. Chinese tech giants are poaching the top Western semiconductor experts while heavily investing in their own. ASML's chief executive Wennick argues his company needs the business from companies like Shanghai-based Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation (SMIC). Even without EUV machines, China is one of his three most voracious consumers after Taiwan and South Korea. If we look at who is investing right now, and it's deep UV immersion, not the leading edge, it's the Chinese, he said, citing the need for chips in civilian applications like intelligent driver assistance systems. As an equipment industry, we need to be shipping to those customers that are actively building fabs, says Wennick. When he was asked when and if ASML would receive the license to sell its current EUV technology to China, Wennick told investors that the issue was entirely out of his hands. He depends on politicians making the right decision for the future of his company. That's about it. We will wait and see how far this chip wars will go, who will be the winners and who will be losers. Just before you leave, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Of course, if you like the things we talk about on this channel. Thank you. Till next time. Bye.